It's the Verizon pregame show here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Mark Farzetta along with Seth Joyner, Mr. Derek Gunn, breaking it all down ahead of Week 14 action. Your Philadelphia Eagles at 8-4 visit the LA Chargers, also at 8-4. Two key injuries to break down before this game. One has to do with the non-throwing hand of quarterback Justin Herbert. The other has to do with not one but two procedures, one on each shoulder, for Jalen Carter, who will not be playing in tonight's game. And the Chargers also get a key piece to their backfield back. We'll break it all down. But first and foremost, let's talk about Jalen Carter, gentlemen. Derek Gunn, what do you know about the procedures that he had on both shoulders, something he said had been nagging him pretty much all season?
Basically, it's like treatment and therapy. There's no surgery. But how bad could it have been to the point where it's keeping him out of a key pivotal game like this tonight? But if you go back to that game against the Bears, obviously it was annoying him to the enough. If you watch when they ISO'd on him, you could see we were talking about how I've never seen him get pushed around up and down the line of scrimmage like he was, and obviously it was affecting him to the point where he couldn't punch or get off of blocks the way he was, and he was just basically sidestepping up and down the trenches the whole game. So that explains a lot. The Eagles, for the most part, have been very secretive in terms about what exactly the injury is and how it could affect him long term. He's listed as game to game, week to week, and they got some games coming up here. I mean, after tonight's game, you don't take any opponent lightly, but the schedule does get easier, except for that game coming up against Buffalo. You look at, most of the games, you got two against Washington coming up, you got one against the Raiders next week, and then you got the game against Buffalo coming up. So when you look at the schedule, even if they get past this and get that all-important W, if he needs that extended rest, they can give him that in terms of when they play either Washington or the Raiders next week.
All right, Jalen Carter obviously going to be somebody missed in the middle of the Eagles' defensive line tonight. Moro Ajomo, it looks like. Ty Robinson, it looks like. These are some guys that need to step up, and how much are they going to miss Jalen Carter?
Well, anytime you have a player of that magnitude, you're gonna miss him. I would so far go to say that they missed him last week because they didn't get a lot out of him, probably because the shoulder was bothering him. And listen, at the end of the day, this is the right move. There's no need if you've got time to get him right, you're going to win the division. You got a 2-game lead in the division, so you're probably going to walk away with the division. So you want to try to get as many guys healthy as you possibly can. That still gives you a good chance to win football games that you need to win. The Eagles played without him early in the year and won a game. Jordan Davis had a big day. I think today is another day that he's going to have to show up big time. But you got to get your guys healthy for the stretch run. And I would surmise that any one of these players, any one of these key players that gets an injury, like I wouldn't be, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't go so far to say that sitting Cam Jurgens down for a couple of games wouldn't be a bad idea because Brett Toth has played well, and I get it that he's your starting center. But if you got a guy that's playing well, you can get another guy, healthy. The more time you can get him off, the better off he's going to be when you really need him. So I'm all in on whatever it is that they got to do to get guys healthy and get them ready for the stretch run.
If they are going to lean more on the rookie Ty Robinson, what would you say to him before game time as a veteran to get him ready for today, to get his head right?
Hey, listen, just go out there and play like your hair's on fire. You're going to get some more reps. They're probably going to be limited. So go out there and just throw caution to the wind. Play within the scheme of the defense, but go out there and play, with everything you got. One of the problems with, having injuries and having backups and backups to backups play is the confidence level. Even as a rookie, you're going to battle that. But the more successes you have and the more wins that you personally have in your one-on-one battles, the more that confidence begin to grow and you begin to believe in yourself that you can dominate and win. You can't go out there thinking. You just got to play. It's just the way the game is, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The offense knows where they're going. They know what the snap count is. They know what the play is. They know what defense you're in, what front you're in. So they have an advantage. So your advantage is attacking, your gap, making sure that you take care of your gap, trying to get to the quarterback with reckless abandon, but also with the type of abandon that has lane rush integrity tagged to it, and just go all out. Because when you get tired, there's other guys over there on the sideline. You can tap your helmet and come on out.
You know what you tell them? Don't try to do too much. you have enough talent around you that can make up the difference.
Do your job.
Just do your job. Do what you practice all week. I know you're going to be under the bright lights. You're going to be jacked up to play. You know what? Don't get out of the mental concepts of what we're trying to do here, because if you do that, you could hurt the overall scheme of what we're trying to do more so, than you can help it. I mean, how many times do we see one player, just one player, out of position in certain situations? It's the difference between a big run and stonewalling the run. It's a big difference between somebody shooting a gap and possibly getting a sack on a quarterback if you're in his way. Just remember what we've practiced all week leading up to this game, and don't try to be bigger than the moment itself.
Honestly, D-Gun, I mean, that's something that you could probably talk to the entire defense about.
Yeah.
Because I would tell you, especially in the Bears game last week, that you saw more guys trying to do somebody else's job, and that's what got them in trouble more than anything. If you're a defensive end on the end of the line, your number one priority is contain, whether the ball is to you or whether the ball is away from you. You can't do anything about those plays on the inside until you secure your area, and then you make sure that ball is inside. Now you can fall back in. But if everybody would just do their job to the best of their ability and trust that each other teammate is going to be there doing the same thing, then they're going to have success. But when I've been in those games before, 281 yards is a lot of yards. You become frenetic in how you're playing the game, because you're like, I got to make a play. They just run the ball all over us. But the thing that snowballs the situation is when you start to try to do somebody else's job, and now you get two guys in one gap and they hit your gap. They can't afford to do that.
We've talked so much this season about the ends crashing too much instead of containment. And how many times have we seen running backs burn them with these outside zone runs and stuff, because these guys are getting crashed down and the tackles are walling them to the inside, which opens a big lane. I'm surprised at this point of a season, and we're not talking about some new guys coming in. We're talking about guys that have been in this system for a while that are still making that same mental mistake, which has cost them a lot in run situations.
Well, I think it's a combination of things. It's funny. One of the good things about the Eagles playing on Sunday night and then coming back on Monday night, the last 2 weeks, we've all had the ability on Sunday to sit back and watch games. It makes you wonder, when you watch how dynamic some of these offenses are, why the Eagles can't figure out ways to be as dynamic, why they can't, with the NFL being a copycat league, why can't you take some of these things and implement them into what you're doing, for key breakers, so teams don't know exactly what you're doing. The other thing is, I sat back and I watched, there was a play last night in the Kansas City game where the linebacker, I forget his name, number 32 for the Chiefs, he got a double team.
Nick Bolton?
Nick Bolton.
Yeah.
He got a double team in front of him, and the minute he saw the double team, he shot the gap. Now, our linebackers need to start playing more that way, especially if you're a gap responsibility defense, because what it does is when you get the double team, okay, they're trying to push that defensive tackle out of his gap. And he's lined up in a 3 technique, and he's in that gap, or a 2 technique, and he's in that gap. The sooner you can come down, the easier it is for him to maintain his gap. Now, you got to come down with the right shoulder, the right arm, and making sure, but it's got to be faster. It's got to be faster. You got to attack the line of scrimmage. The minute you see the double team, you got to attack right now. And I'm telling you right now, the Eagles are going to see a lot of double teams tonight, especially when they're in their 4-man fronts.
All right, you said a second ago, getting after the quarterback is something obviously the Eagles are going to have to do. That quarterback essentially playing with one hand tonight, that's Justin Herbert, who is out there on the football field at SoFi tonight, throwing the ball around during warm-ups. He has his left hand that was surgically repaired just last Monday. He has that in a glove and wrapped as well. What do you do as a defensive player when you know you got a quarterback that has a hurt wing?
Grab it and twist it, try to break it off.
Karate chop it.
Listen, man, if all is fair in love and war, then all is fair in the game of football. We used to have a motto: let's get the starter out and see what his backup can do. And to the average person, it sounds so crude, that you don't play the game that way. That's not sportsmanship. But I would beg to differ, because whatever it takes for you to win the football game, you got to be willing to do it. And I'm talking, if I just get close to the quarterback, I'm going to be slapping at that hand, because I want him in pain. I want him in pain enough that he'll go out of the game, and you bring Trey Lance in, and it gives you an opportunity to win. But if you're going to let him sit back there and play nice and allow him to, even when you get closer, you're trying not to hit the hand. Come on, man. Football, the game is not meant to be played in that manner, you know. And sportsmanship goes way beyond, you know. I understand the sportsmanship thing, but if you're standing in the way of my ultimate goal, and that's winning this game, winning the division, and getting back, you know, to the Super Bowl, then by all means necessary, everything is on the table. Everything.
Well, we heard that for 2 consecutive days in practice that Herbert was not taking many snaps. All of a sudden, the final week practice of preparation, he was taking everything out of the shotgun. So they're not going to have him drop back, which would give a pass rush that much more of an opportunity to get to him. I would be shocked if the Chargers don't have a quick passing game all night long.
Oh, of course.
Get that ball out of his hand to avoid taking unnecessary hits on their hand. I'm sure they have some kind of, you know, wrap around it, whether it's a hard wrap, just to stabilize it and take some of that pressure off of it. But I would be shocked if they have them standing back there patting the ball, waiting for guys trying to get downfield. I think this is a game where you're going to see the Chargers try to dink and dunk their way down the field against this Eagles
And
defense.
I think it's one of those games because, you know, the one guy on their offense that I'm really afraid of, he's a very good wide receiver, and I see teams, you know, kind of disregard him, and he makes them pay, is Ladd McConkey. You know, I think that, you know, when you're playing him, you know, you got to play some robber coverage. He likes to run a lot of crossing routes. And if you're going to play outside technique, you better be dropping a safety in on the other side so that guys aren't in the chase mode. But I would make sure first and foremost I figure out a way to take him away, get up and play a little more press coverage. You're not worried about Keenan Allen running away from you. They have nobody with breakaway speed where you're really worrying about it. So you got to get up and challenge people, because if it's their game plan to put him in shotgun and go the quick game, if you're going to play off the way we play off, as much as we play off, they're just going to just methodically move down the field, making first downs, handing it off, running the ball, finding balance. They've got to get up and challenge these wide receivers and force Justin Herbert to make perfect throws.
All right, now the other part of this is not injury. The other part of this is about game planning and predictability, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. But last week, during his press conference that followed the loss to the Bears on Black Friday, Nick Sirianni talked about making changes behind the scenes, but Kevin Patullo will remain the play caller. Since then, another report has come out by ESPN saying that Nick Sirianni, Gunner, is taking on more responsibility with that offense. What does that mean?
Before you answer that, my question is, what took so long?
That's exactly was the first thing coming out of my mouth. Why would you wait until week 13, 14 to even make that decision? Now, first of all, we agree in unison. We don't want to see him as a play caller for a 60-minute game. But if this is your offense, if this is your architecture, and it's not being constructed the way you want it to be as the head coach, the official man in charge, you should have been dipping in this even more so. We've seen, outside of that one Giants game, we've seen how inconsistent and lethargic it's been at times. You know, they have 3 games this season where they haven't scored in a half of football. That's the second most in the NFL this season. For an offense with this much talent and this much money involved in this offense, one of the highest offensive payrolls in the NFL, that's inexcusable. And you as the head coach, you wait until now, until, as my man Hugh Douglas likes to say, it's do or die. It's do or die. You're going to wait until now to finally step in and put your signature on this? You should have been doing this weeks ago. But then again, on the other hand, what kind of signal is that sending to your OC? If the head coach has to step in and correct some of the things you've done or have not done, what kind of message? We've heard players all season long grumbling about the offense, individuals grumbling. They got a little bit louder, started with AJ, and everybody came down on AJ. We want him gone. We want him out of here. All of a sudden, a few more people started speaking. So there obviously some truth to it, okay? Now, obviously the onus has been on Kevin Patullo. But this is much bigger than Kevin Patullo. And, you know, now people are starting to wake up and see that it's not just Kevin Patullo. This goes from the offensive line, the head coach, the quarterback, the wide receivers, the whole 9 yards. You know, but now people took until now to finally get it, that this is not just an individual problem, this is a collective problem.
Now, before you get a bite of this, Seth, I want to show this tweet that was put out by a friend of ours here, Thomas R. Peterson, put out these numbers on the Ringer from the Eagles offense, and it basically speaks to the predictability of the Eagles offense. Seth, if you know that you're not going to be seeing a lot of, or you're going to be seeing a lot of hitch routes, if you know you're not going to be seeing crossing routes and so on and so forth down this list, that seems like a pretty easy way to play defense on an offense where you know what to expect.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, these numbers are, these are numbers that someone, who is a novice football person has gathered this data and put it out there. I'm sure the data is out there. The Eagles have an entire data analytics department. So they've got to be somewhat aware of these numbers. So therein lies your adjustments that need to be made. Get AJ in the slot a little more, get a little motion going on, and not just motioning Smitty across and running it every time. Let's get away from those hitch routes. Because as a DB, especially in third down situations where they've been horrible, they've been horrible at converting third downs, this season. I believe the Eagles are ranked 28th at 34%. That is just, an abomination when you think about it. And they haven't had a whole lot of, they're even worse in third and short situations than they are in third and long situations. So I just think that, there's enough information there, for this coaching staff to make the requisite adjustments, to nullify some of these numbers. Because if you're any kind of defensive coordinator, that's worth his salt, you're going to look at those numbers and say, all right, we don't have to worry about them, especially in third down situations, trying to beat us with deep routes or crossing routes. When push comes to shove, and the rubber meets the road and they need a completion, they're going to run a little 7-8 yard stop route, hitch route, comeback, So now you got to break that. Where is the slanting goes? Where is the hitching goes? Because if you got a guy flat-footed and he's sitting and he's waiting, he's sitting on a route, what better situation could you possibly be in? You've got him set up. You've already got him set up. So you drive, fake the hitch, okay? He's going to step inside to where he thinks the hitch is going to be, and you just turn it into a fade route off of that. It's right there, I mean, it's not rocket science. Football has never been rocket science. It's about the numbers in the run game, and it's about your tendencies in the pass game by formations, what you like to do and what you feel comfortable with. And everybody has, teams have the book on this Eagles offense. When Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is in the locker room smiling because he's asked a question, are they predictable? That tells you all you want to know. So now they've got to get out of this area of predictability and what they do and how they run things and what they're, how they lean into plays after the first 15, because it hasn't been a problem, the first 15 plays of the game. The problem is once they get away from the first 15, then they become highly predictable. And they've got to figure out a way to get totally away from that and do the exact opposite of what they've been doing, because they haven't up until this point, and teams have been game planning them the same exact way. So if you begin to feed them something a little different, now you make defensive players and coordinators begin to think about how they want to attack this offense in a massively different way.
Well, Jordan Mailata said last week that they have something different coming up tonight in the run game. So I want to see how much different it can look. If it hasn't worked in 12, 13 games, I want to see how much different it can look at this point of a season. But he was smiling when he said it at his locker in front of the media. And so I'm looking to see exactly what Jeff Stoutland comes up with tonight to go up against a very fast and a very physical Chargers defensive front.
I'll say this, though. You can come up with all the new stuff that you want to and smile and be happy about it. But if this offensive line doesn't go out tonight and play in a dominant fashion, and I'm just going to put it like this, because I said it last week. Jason Kelsey was asked about what I said on WIP early in the week. As I'm watching these games and I'm watching these dominant offenses, like when I'm watching Chicago, score a touchdown on the goal line, I'm watching offensive linemen just burying people, okay? It's not enough to make contact and hope that the running back gets by while you're making contact. You've got to maul people, and your mentality has to be, I want to destroy this player on every single play. And I'm going to do it until I hear 2 or 3 whistles, okay? In a lot of ways, to me, that's what's plagued them more than anything. Sometimes they're in position to make plays, but it's the fact that they don't finish. It's the fact that they don't have the mindset that I'm going to dominate this player. Even if you're not dominating him, at least fight him until it's over, till the play is over. Okay? They have to finish blocking, and I don't care how different the scheme looks, what improvements that they think they've made. If the offensive line and Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra don't block their ass off, the run game will continue to look the same.
All right, now we just talked about something different with the offense that's running the football. We talked about obviously something different with the offensive line. We critiqued Kevin Patullo. How much of this is Jalen Hurts? What do you want to see different, if anything, from Jalen Hurts in this game against the Chargers tonight?
I want to see him run more.
Thank you.
I want to see him run the football more. The fact that when you look at his numbers, his carries, his yards have been way down.
7 carries a game now.
Yeah,
lowest of his career.
I think that's another part of the predictability of his offense. Defenses don't fear him running the football. I think he needs to utilize his legs more. I do think there's something to the fact that, I don't want to use the word scared him, but made him become a little bit more cautious when he got that concussion against Washington last season. Because if you notice, he hadn't run much since then. Now, I understand you want to preserve your quarterback and keep him to live another day. But you look at some of the quarterbacks around the league and take off. I mean, that is another weapon in your offense. And when your offense has struggled the way this offense is, don't play into the defense's hand. Give them something that can hurt them, that can make them back off, to make them play a little bit more basic instead of scheming you and coming at all these different angles because they know your quarterback's not going to take off. If need be, I want to see Jalen step up and run the ball 10, 12, 13 times like he was doing a couple of years ago and gaining significant yards for this offense.
I just want to see the threat of it, D-Gun.
That too,
because when you get back to your RPO and your read option stuff, now you've got 2-3 plays wrapped up in one, okay? You got the run option that you can hand it off if the defensive end stays there. If the defensive end crash, you got the quarterback pull where he can take off and he can run. And then you've got the pass option off of that to work with too. So now you can attack 3 different places and now you make defenses begin to play you in a completely different way. I don't want to see him run the ball 14 times, but if the threat is there, that every time that I turn and I put that ball out and I act like I might pull it out, that I could take off with it, now you force linebackers to play different. You force the defensive ends to play different. You force a whole lot of things to be a lot different than what it's look like. The other thing I want to see from Jalen tonight is I want to see Jalen get through his progression, okay? I think one of the most debilitating things that has happened with this offense is Nick Sirianni repeatedly standing in front of the media and saying, in our passing game, it all begins with AJ and then Devontae and then Dallas Goedert. Offenses are supposed to be run in a manner where whoever the open guy is, that's the guy that gets the ball. And AJ can be the primary. But when you look at AJ and he ain't open or he's jammed up, go to the next read. Go to the next read. And now you can pull the ball down and get out, okay? But when you stay on AJ and you're waiting for him to get open, or Dallas is the primary and you're waiting for him to get open, you are not running an efficient offense and you're asking for trouble against a team that can rush the passer.
Well, AJ's got his numbers the last 2 games, right?
Yes.
They've lost both games. So obviously that's not the answer, getting AJ the ball more, right?
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to talk about not just this side of the football, but the other side of the football when it comes to how this team is going to organize the talent they have and let them rip against this Chargers team, hopefully tonight. We'll talk about that and more when we return. This is the Verizon pregame show.
This holiday, Verizon's got the craziest deal ever with iPhone 17, iPad, and Apple Watch. All on them. But no getting it if you're naughty. You just ate. Don't worry, we know what list you're on. I'm always watching. Always watching. Not always. Boundaries.
Get the powerful new iPhone 17, iPad, and Apple Watch all for $0. No trade-in needed on any plan.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There is a number on the screen. There
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. We just touched on the idea of things being predictable in the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Now in our Say What segment, we're going to get into one particular Eagle. It's what he didn't say behind the scenes. This was after the Eagles took the loss on Black Friday to the Chicago Bears. Mike Sealski of Inquirer.com asked the question of Dallas Goedert. Do you ever feel like you catch a defense off guard? Take a listen.
Dallas, how often do you guys feel like you have a strategic advantage on the defense, that you're going to fool them or you're going to run something that they don't see coming?
Tough question. I don't really know if I have an answer for that one, but you know, we gotta make plays.
Right, so right back to the idea of execution.
Wow.
I know the segment is called Say What, but this is one of two where really they say nothing. What'd you make of that response?
That's pretty damning. Because, you know, for a player that's been here as many years as he's been here, and a player who's privy to the game plan that goes on, you know, every coordinator has if you look at the sheet, he's got a little section on the sheet where they've got, you know, some trick plays, some key breaker plays, and what Dallas Goedert is pretty much telling us is, you know, I haven't seen much innovation in that area. And that kind of lines up, D-Gun, with everything that, you know, everything that we realize about this offense. It's basic, it's simplistic, and it's predictable.
And where does it start? The head coach, the coordinator, the quarterback. And, you know, a lot of people have gone out of their way in that locker room not to say and to not finger point. But you could tell by actions, and we're sitting here calling out plays a lot of time when we're watching the game. We know exactly what they're going to run. So what is a qualified defensive coordinator going to do when he sees how they line up? They don't deviate from the norm. See, last year, they just mauled people. They just lined up. They weren't that creative last year, if you think about it. They just lined up and mauled people last year. Once they figured out they had this dominant run game, they just freight trained everybody they played against.
Impose their will.
Imposed their will on them. They tried the same thing this year. It's not working. Coordinators adjusted. Personnel, scheme. You didn't. You thought the same thing was going to work. But you had plenty of time early on in the season to make some type of adjustments, whether it's more motion, you know, misdirection, something, I don't like to see a lot of gadget plays, but sometimes they're necessary to throw a defense off. You know, don't play right into their hands, which is why you can't run for 100 yards a game. Your overall offense is always outgained, you know, by opponents because they know what you're doing. If they know what you're doing, why are you playing into their hands instead of creating something? If it's a simple formation. I always hear about how when you look at one play from an offense, there's usually 5 to 7 different variations you can run it from or formations you can run it out of. Don't see that with this Eagles team.
And by the way, for the record, for those that forgot, that's Dallas Goedert. He's a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'd like to see him involved a little bit more. We're talking about a guy that had 7 touchdowns through the first, I think it was 8 or 9 games of the season. Now he's got 4 consecutive games with no more than 2 catches. So I'd like to see him become part of the offense.
Can I theorize something as far as, you know, the pass game and the run game is concerned? You know, I kind of had this concern last year, and I talked about it, you know, even last year. Hard to bring up, you know, when the team is on the pace that they were last year, 16 out of the last 17 games and go on and win, you know, Super Bowl 59. I think through the first 4 weeks of the season, you know, they were trying to be more of a passing team. And they came to the realization that Jalen hadn't really solved his turnover situation. And after the bye week in week 5, they came back and they decided we're going to be a run-first team. That's not something that this organization necessarily wants to be, but when you're winning at the clip that they were winning and on the trajectory that they were on, I don't think anybody within the organization was not happy with where they were going and what they were doing. And there was at one point in time during the season last year where Jalen was throwing the ball maybe 20 times a game and, you know, completing right around 65, 75% of his passes. I said that, you know, I felt like the Eagles kind of fell in love with what they were having success with. And in a lot of ways, the passing game, you know, was kind of put on the back burner, okay? And the development of the pass game as the season went on, you really didn't see it until you got to the Super Bowl. Even at that, Jalen, 220-something yards passing, you know? And I know it's not really all about the statistics, but sprinkled in those 16-1, he had a game here, a game there, you know, where he had an outstanding day passing the ball. But I think you can make the adjustment one way or the other. But if you begin to have too much, if you begin to rely on one thing too much, and you begin to neglect the other aspect of the game, it can get you in trouble. And I think they came into this year believing that they could continue to run the football the same way that they ran the football last year. And without the development of the pass game, it has begun to bite them in the behind. They need to run the football. They don't need to run it at a historic clip like they did last year, but they need to at least rush for 100, 120 yards per game. That's not a whole lot to ask for. You know, these Chargers are 12th, you know, in rushing at 122 yards per game. So you don't need a lot. You need enough to create the balance. But I think it hurts them, you know, to get to a point where they forget about the passing game so much that they rely on trying to get the run game. Sometimes you got to do one to get the other, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they got to get all phases, you know, kind of synced up. But I think part of the reason why they are where they are right now is because they felt like exactly what they accomplished last year from an offensive perspective, they could walk into 2025 and do the same thing, and it hasn't worked out, and they have not expanded their passing game enough to back people off and create the scenario where they could then get the run game going.
Take the tush push, for example. For most of the season early on to the midpoint of the season, it was just as effective as we saw a year ago. Then all of a sudden we saw one team stop it 3 times in one game. And then we saw another team force a fumble and kill momentum. Okay, so you run a play like that until you say stop it if you can. When they start to stop it, there's other variations of the same tush push that you can run. Roll out pass, fake the dive, hand it off to somebody. But they keep doing the same thing over and over, and you're giving the opposition the thought that we can hang with this team. Whereas you demoralized teams a year ago, you've allowed teams for the most part this season to say we can hang with this team, and 4 times it beat you.
Yeah, where's that tush-push sweep we saw against the Bucs earlier this season? You know?
Exactly.
Well, if you look at it, the guys that's really killing it is the guys that's crashing off the edge.
Sure.
Okay? So you got to have 2 guys that's pushing, but you also got to have 2 guys on the edge that seals it off so that those guys can't come in, because both of those guys that caused those 2 fumbles that Jalen's had, one against the Giants and one against the Bears last week, were the guys off the edge, where they came in off the edge, they jumped on Jalen, trying to pull him back, and then realizing, hey, the ball's right here. He only got 1 arm on it. I'll just take the ball, you know. So they got to be able to seal it. And now understanding that just run it once your traditional way and be a little more dominant. And then let's pay attention to how they're playing it. Because if now you want to crash those guys off the edge, I believe that was the genesis of Jalen faking it and handing it off to Saquon and running the sweep. Because if you get that guy to crash, there's no contain on that side. You're off to the races, especially if you can get somebody out in front of him pulling. It's a done deal.
Make them pay. Make them pay.
For our second Say What, another less is more type of thing, but this actually does feel like a hell of a lot more. Imagine walking into the Eagles locker room this week and seeing this. I'm sorry, what? This is, okay, I've heard it called a positivity bunny.
A what?
I've also heard it called by Saquon Barkley a good vibes bunny. Seth, what do you call it?
Come on, Seth. Let's hear it.
You really want my opinion?
Yeah.
Some bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I tried, but y'all, you baited me.
No, nothing but honesty.
Look, man. You couldn't come up with a more menacing animal, a cobra, a mongoose, a lion, a leopard. You come up with the Easter Bunny.
Whose idea was this?
From what we're told, A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon's idea.
Who played last win?
Yeah, I don't
last play?
remember. He's on the Eagles still?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
in
how
the Witness
about that?
Protection Program, but he's still on the Eagles. You come up with the Easter Bunny in a time when things are down on your team. That, you're telling me, is motivational and uplifting for you at this particular time.
Is there even a such thing as a positivity bunny?
I never heard anything like that. A jaguar, something, man.
I mean, was
animals?
it? I'm just trying to figure it out. Was it meant as a joke to kind of lighten the mood in the locker room?
I think so.
But my goodness, I'm surprised that it hasn't been all over every media network, throughout the week, that the Eagles got a positivity bunny.
The Chargers are shaking in their boots right now. Okay,
Look,
they ought to bring him out.
Here's the
you know what they need to do? They need a live positivity bunny to lead them out of the locker room tonight.
You couldn't even find a bunny with fangs foaming at the mouth like he got rabies or something?
I will say, Nick Sirianni talked about daisies, petunias, and all sorts of flowers a couple years ago when he wanted to make a point about roots. A lot of things. Oak trees have roots. You know what I mean? He went flowers.
I thought we was going to give him a pass on that.
No.
No.
I tell you that now.
Just the fact that he let it in the locker room.
Right.
Mark my words. If they don't win tonight, you know somebody's going to bring it up all week long about this bunny in the locker room. I've never, in all the years I've covered football, I've never seen anything like that in the locker room.
It had to be a joke. It's got to be a joke.
Oh, I don't think it's meant to be serious.
Yeah, but you know what? Think about this, Seth. When you played, would your teammates allow something like that in the locker room?
No, somebody would have went
and busted it.
Somebody would have went in the training room and got a set of scissors and came out
busted it.
And snipped one of his ears off.
Yes.
And that would have been the end.
Yes.
I'm gonna take one guess as to who that would be. Seth Joyner.
Maybe.
All right, this one actually somebody
after I kicked it.
This one somebody actually does say something, and it's very surprising, especially considering the source. Jeff McClain asking Saquon Barkley, speaking about vibes, but really the vibes on the sidelines.
You said how do you think the energy has been on the sidelines? I guess during games. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's been awful. I don't think that's I think you ask anybody if they're being honest, we will all agree on that.
Now, here's what's so shocking about this and a say what about this. Saquon has been one of the most struggle-filled members of this team, unfortunately, coming off of last year, how much struggles he's had this year, obviously offensive line, everything. You haven't heard boo from him. It's been all positive. We're going to figure it out. We're going to do things right. This is the first negative thing we've heard from Saquon Barkley on this season, and it has to do with the lack of energy on the sidelines, offensively specifically.
Football is a game of enthusiasm. And the little run that the Eagles was having leading up to the Cowboys game, you could see the enthusiasm and the excitement on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it really began, when we got Jalen Phillips, and he played so outstanding, and everybody was just all over him, and he was all over. I mean, it was a love fest. But the game is made to be played with a certain level of excitement and intensity. And I've been saying it for weeks. Defensively, you can see it from time to time. But offensively, it's like when they pan along the sideline and you're looking at the offensive players sitting on the bench, they look like they're in a state of mourning sometimes, I mean, even AJ, I'm trying to remember what game it was, where he had the 4 catches for 121 yards and the 2 touchdowns.
Minnesota.
And after he caught the second touchdown, he had this look on his face of dissatisfaction. It's like, where's the excitement? Where is, your teammates being excited for you and you being excited for them, and this energy that you create because it builds confidence in everything that you do. But when you look at this team, they don't play with that same, intensity or enthusiasm that they did last year. It's evident. Like, you see Saquon, and I get it, when you're not performing well, if Saquon rips off a 70-yarder, yeah, everybody's excited. Even the trainers that's got the Gatorade bottle is excited. But you got to start with your small wins and then expand to the big wins. But you cannot play this game emotionless. You cannot play this game with a lack of urgency and intensity. And you damn sure can't play it without some level of enthusiasm, because the other team is bringing it. They're bringing their own enthusiasm. When they sack Jalen, they dancing and high-fiving. When they get a turnover, they're running in the end zone to celebrate. So they got to figure out a way to create that enthusiasm between each other. That if a guy makes a tackle, a guy makes a big hit, a guy makes a tackle for a loss, where's the enthusiasm? Even if Saquon rips off a run for 5 yards, be excited about it, because that's the genesis of something bigger to come once you start to raise your vibration level and the intensity level that you're bringing to the game. And I don't see it. So that quote was nothing new to me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't new to me. Like, I was at a luncheon and Devin Caney brought it up, a couple of weeks ago. She said down on the defensive side of the ball, the guys are joking and having a good time, and there's this level of enthusiasm. Over on the offensive side of the ball, and I get it, you ain't playing well, things ain't going well, you're winning games, but things still aren't going well. And she said down on that end, you would think that somebody died and they were in mourning. How can you have a total locker room that's split in half, defense and offense, and you got a party going on over here and a wake going on down on the other end? Makes no sense to me.
It's more poignant because it came from Saquon Barkley. We're not used to him speaking out like this. He toes the line. He says all the right things. He's not going to give the media anything they can grasp onto. But in this particular case, out of frustration, it finally boiled over. When you tell me that the energy is awful on the sidelines of an NFL football team, you are one of 1,700 chosen few to wear that uniform. You are in the national spotlight every week. It is not like hockey, basketball, or baseball where you play every night or every other night. You get to do it once a week and get paid handsomely to do it. And you lack enthusiasm and energy when your job could be taken from you at any given moment by injury, or if the management or coaching staff decides they can find somebody sitting out there who can do your job a little bit better, and you're lacking. You're making more money than you ever dreamed up in a lifetime, and even though it's temporary, it's more than you might ever see in a lifetime, and you don't have enthusiasm and energy to play this game that millions dream about as children to play. That's what shocked me. First of all, it came from Saquon. Number two, that he basically summed up what we've thought for weeks, that this offense feels drained. It feels empty when you watch it. When you look at TV cameras, scan up and down the sideline and look in their faces, it's like, what's missing? What's missing from this team, from this offense?
Do you want to hear an offensive player excited? Do you want to hear an offensive player excited?
Sure.
Our last say what? Devontae Smith was asked what he did during the mini bye week, and here's what Devontae Smith did.
So what's interesting? I bought me a juicer, and I've been squeezing oranges, apples, and pineapples for the past 4 days. And let me tell you something. It's amazing.
Who asked him that?
Get excited. Get excited. Listen to the passion in his voice.
First of all,
passion fruit.
First of all, the Slim Reaper need to be eating the whole fruit. I'm talking about the cover and the stem on the pineapple, the core apple, and the peels. Dude, you weigh 165 pounds. The last thing you need to be doing is juicing. Wow.
But he went on, and he talked about disappointment. They need 100 apples to fill one jar. I mean, these are problems. But we were talking before. You need a cheesesteak, man. Put down the fruit. Get some pounds on you, friend.
Oh, my goodness.
When we come back, we're going to go.
You got to love that dude, man.
You do.
I love him, man. That dude's tough as nails to be, 165 soaking wet.
I think we could say
love that dude, man.
I hope after this game we can say he's juicing.
You know what he needs? He needs a little pouch on the side. So when he mossed somebody tonight, he just pulled the pouch out and just juiced him.
You've been juiced.
Oh, my
there you
goodness.
go. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the other side of the football there, go behind enemy lines to look at these LA Chargers. That's when we return. This is the Verizon pregame show.
Oh, man.
Mid-Penn Bank's Sports and Entertainment Division was created because we understand the unique financial situations of both athletes and entertainers. So whether you're trying to win a Grammy or an MVP, reach out to one of our professionals to help us navigate your financial journey.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Now let's step behind enemy lines to take a look at what the LA Chargers could be throwing in the face of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think like most people without Jalen Carter, you're going to be looking at potentially another big run game for the opponent. The first guy that I'm looking at, and I know Gunnar, you're going to be building on this as well when it comes to a player the Chargers are getting back. I'm looking at Kamani Vidal, running back for the LA Chargers, 126 yards and a touchdown just last week, but on the season averaging 4.5 yards per carry. That's going up against no Jalen Carter coming off a game where you just allowed 281 yards. So Moro Ajomo, Ty Robinson, you got your work cut out. And Gunnar, that's only half the problem they got to face today.
This is a Chargers defense that has some big-name linebackers. They got Khalil Mack, Bud Dupree, Denzel Perryman. But the starter's defensive scheme for the Chargers is Tuli Pelotu. He has 10 sacks, ninth best in the league, 16 tackles for losses, tied for fourth best in the league. He comes from a long line of big-time players. I mean, this is a big dude, 6'3", 270. His brother plays offensive tackle, Marlon, for the Chiefs, and his cousin, get this, is Talanoa Hufanga, who was a Pro Bowler for the 49ers. He's balling out for Denver. So football runs deep in that bloodline.
They're all cousins.
They're all crazy. They're all cousins.
Literally, all call each other cousins.
But keep an eye on him because he will be crashing, looking for Jalen tonight.
Yeah, and my mistake, that's for the defensive side. You want to talk, Seth, about another running back out of their backfield.
I mean, you talked about Kamani Vidal, but Omarion Hampton is back off of IR for this game right here. And they drafted this kid 22nd overall, and he was getting it done before he got injured. He's a bigger back. He's fast. He's got breakaway speed, and I can promise you, with Kamani Vidal filled in nicely for him. But if he's 100% and he's active, they're going to give the Philadelphia Eagles, after watching them give up 281 yards of rushing last week, if you think that John Harbaugh is not going to, try to get the train going with this big back, so the Eagles are going to have their hands full against this guy. 4.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns before the injuries, 66 carries, 314 yards, and he can flat out run the football. So the Eagles better put their big boy pads on, put their thigh pads, their knee pads, their hip pads, girdle pads, any kind of pad they could put on, because they're going to get a steady dose of this kid tonight, in my opinion. And they're going to have to prove that last week was an anomaly.
Well, I think even more so, Seth, because Justin Herbert's hand situation and the fact that they're salivating over the fact that if the Bears ran for 281 on this defense, if we get $150, that's a win for us in a lot of ways. So I agree with Seth. Between the two running backs you talked about, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this Eagles defense bows up, especially without Jalen Carter in the middle of the defense.
You know the other thing that's going to be interesting? So Herbert's got the issue on his non-throwing hand. So when it comes to, handoffs, going right, pretty easy. Going left, rather, you're going to hand it off with your right hand. But those handoffs is going to the right side of the formation. How are they going to deal with that? Him taking first of all, catching the ball either, out of shotgun, which we believe he's primarily going to be in, or taking a snap from under center, with the right hand, with the left hand under the bottom, and then him having to go to his right and stick that left hand out. What kind of pain tolerance is he going to be able to endure, throughout that process? So it's going to be interesting to see what their plan is. Do they plan on running the ball a little more to the left, taking the pressure off that hand, or whether they're going to be balanced in what they like to do.
Moro Ojomo was actually asked about that exact thing this week and said that's obviously a huge advantage to the defense here because it's a little bit more predictable as to what he's going to do. We'll see if the Chargers are trying to confuse the Eagles' defense.
I don't know who it was a couple of years ago. He was handing that bad boy off backhand.
Real quick, we're looking at trying to pick up the pieces from a 281-yard game from the Bears. Nakobe Dean has been playing the vast majority of linebacker, taking away those snaps from rookie Jahad Campbell, who's playing very well. Last week, you heard from Vic Fangio just simply say that that's just the way the chips fell, that they thought Nakobe Dean would be better against the run. It obviously didn't work. Do you see a little bit more of Jahad Campbell getting worked into the mix now and maybe spelling Nakobe Dean, especially if you're going to be out there for whatever it was, 67 snaps in the early goings of the game?
I think it depends on how well they control San Diego's run game early in the game. If they're controlling the line of scrimmage, then, especially if Nakobe Dean's crashing and making a lot of plays in there, they'll bring Jahad in and just spell him for a little bit. But if the Chargers are gashing him the way the Bears did, then obviously they're going to want Dean out there more so than anything else because of basically inexperience over Jahad. So it's twofold. If they can control Chargers' running game right from the jump, I do think we'll see him in there tonight.
I think you're going to see more of him, in the passing game. If the Eagles can get the run game under control, get some kind of a lead, and then force them to have to throw the ball more than they, might want to, then yeah, you'll see him because I think he's better against the pass than Nakobe is. Even though Nakobe's had some great plays this year, taking wide receivers across the field, running, he's played well. He just hasn't played well against the run. And I don't think Jahad really understands the defense enough to be able to attack the line of scrimmage the way that Nakobe does.
All right, when we come back, we're going to give you our official predictions for Eagles-Chargers today, as well as I should say, our players to bank on, and also giveaways in the spirit of giving. We'll talk about that and more when we return. This is the Verizon pregame show.
At Mid-Penn Bank, we believe in the power of community. We're not just another bank, we're your bank. We're also your neighbor. For over 150 years, we've been helping dreams come true, financing projects that make a difference locally. From small businesses to community centers, we're here to support what matters most to you, donating time and resources to strengthen the Philadelphia region. And when Philly's favorite superstars need a bank they can trust, they turn to Mid-Penn Bank just like you can. Mid-Penn Bank. Stronger communities, stronger futures. Let's build something great together.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
For an elf, the holidays are stressful, but Verizon's got a bonkers deal on the new Samsung Galaxy S25. Get Gemini, when's our next train coming?
Right now.
Ah, nutcrackers. Gemini, where am I?
You're in a blender.
Okay. Time for elf care. Gemini, find me a massage, please. Oh, that was fast.
Get Samsung Galaxy S25 with Gemini and Watch and Tap, all for $0. No trade-in needed on any plan.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Before we go any further and we get into our predictions, want to get into more of the spirit of giving, and I understand we have some more things we want to give away. Seth Joyner, especially for the people that will be tuning in, not just for this, but also on the post-game show.
Well, we got some tickets. We got a set of 2 to the December 14th game. I believe that is the Raiders game, right? So make sure you guys tune into the chat and the post game to find out who wins those tickets.
That is the next game on the schedule. So hopefully the Eagles will be going for 2 wins in a row in that game against the Raiders. All right, let's get into our players to bank on. The first guy I'm going to mention here, I know there's really 2 Jalens on the field. You're down 1, you still have 2 remaining. Obviously, you want to see Jalen Hurts step up and take control of this offense and really get him marching down the field. The other is Jalen Phillips, especially when you're talking about a defensive line missing their best player in Jalen Carter. Jalen Phillips came here, shot out of a cannon, all the positivity in the world. We knew what he could do getting after the quarterback, but also very good in the run game. Would love to see that today. Him step up. Jalen Phillips, my player to bank on for today. Derek Gunn, who do you got?
It's got to be Jalen Hurts for me.
Okay.
You've been chastised, scrutinized, marginalized, homogenized, you name it. I need to see a big game from him tonight. And it doesn't just have to be one phase of the game. I want to see him play a more complete game tonight, running the offense, hitting the targets, throwing on rhythm, and if he has to, step up and run a little bit more than he has in the past. Jalen Hurts is my guy tonight.
Yeah. By the way, is it just me, or ever since your report came out, which I 100% admit, I and believe, it feels like it's been open season on Jalen Hurts. This bad guy in the locker room, and I do feel like Hard Knocks, if you saw the clip, did him, not intentionally did him favors, but did him favors to see how vocal he was on the sideline.
I don't know. I don't know. I stand by what I put out there, and then you see other people like Jeff McClain put stuff out there. Chris Sims recently put stuff out there, which was more insightful, which was more insightful than anything I said. But obviously, Chris Sims is talking to somebody in the building.
It certainly seems like it.
Yes.
And he also tried to use last year against Jalen Hurts.
It's true.
When they won the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Remember that time they won the Super Bowl? Seth Joyner, who's your player to bank on?
You know, Jalen Carter is a big loss. And the last time in game 1 where he missed the game, Jordan Davis stepped up big time. Jordan has kind of faded from the scene since that point. He had a good game here, a good game there. But if they're going to get this run game under control tonight without Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis got to show up. And I'm not talking about, just a couple of tackles. I'm talking about how he played in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Dominant in the run game, getting off of blocks, making plays, also getting off of blocks and getting to the quarterback. Because the question now is, okay, who are you going to double? If they disrespect him enough that they're going to double Moro Ojomo or Ty Robinson, that he better take that as disrespect and show them that he's got more in his game than just a run stopper. He has to show up huge, in my opinion, in order for this defense to do what it needs to do. He's got to be dominant. He's got to channel his inner Jalen Carter in order for the Eagles to get this thing done.
All right, for our players to bank on, our predictions there. To our predictions for the game, Philadelphia Eagles and Chargers kicking off in Monday Night Football, of course. I'll go first when it comes to the prediction. Gentlemen, I'll take the first bite. I do not like the Eagles tonight, but I will like them if Jalen Phillips actually shows up and gets after Justin Herbert and maybe does tweak that hand a little bit more as the game goes on. The Chargers do turn the football over. You're talking about 10 interceptions in the last 10 games there for Justin Herbert. They force a couple of those turnovers. Then you're talking about them having a real fighting chance tonight. Unfortunately, I still see the Eagles now, unfortunately, not having their best defensive lineman in a game against two running backs that can certainly run that football. I see this one being a Chargers victory, 20-17. Chargers win the game. Derek Gunn, what say you?
I told you after the Bears game on Black Friday, I said, I'm picking the Chargers. And this Eagles team has to show me. Saquon came out and said something. Sirianni is having more of an active participation in the offensive structure. We got Energizer bunnies running around the locker room, At this stage of a season, nobody can tell me. I ask a lot of people this. Can you tell me what the identity of this Eagles team is? Nobody knows.
No.
See, and I think they're still doing a lot of soul searching, plus the fact that they're missing two key components, Lane Johnson and Jalen Carter, and those two are huge for this team. Now, I know Justin Herbert's playing with one hand, but they're playing this one on the West Coast. And right now, Chargers are the number 6 seed in the AFC, and they're bird dog in Denver. I said it on Black Friday. I'm going to stick to it. I'm taking the Chargers in this game tonight, 21-17. Oh, by the way, the only time I picked against the Eagles this year, they won. So maybe all these people saying grow back the goatee and the mustache, maybe me picking against the Eagles is that good luck charm they need.
Well, I got 2 predictions.
Oh, boy.
Okay. For the first time this year, I'm picking against the Eagles if Justin Herbert plays and they can protect him. Okay. The Chargers 26, the Eagles 20.
Ooh.
If Trey Lance has to play in this game, I bet every penny I have in my bank account that the Eagles win this game because he is not the player to help this team win. Eagles win 28-14 if Trey Lance starts this game.
Fair enough. All right.
Or has to come in
Okay.
in a significantly level point in time in the game.
He threw one pass last week against the Raiders, Trey Lance, and
Was it
Justin
an
Herbert came back.
interception?
It was not. All right, we're going to break it all down in the Verizon post-game show. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing.
I think we got one more promo, don't we? Don't we got a promo to give away before we go?
We didn't do the ticket giveaway? We did the
No,
ticket
we did
giveaway.
the ticket giveaway. There you go. The
there
holiday
we go.
giveaway. The Holiday Adopt a Family. Tomorrow will be the last day that we're taking donations in concert with Legacy Plastic Surgery and Aesthetics. Man, we got some stuff for these kids and these families. My wife and I are so overjoyed and so thankful for the donations that we've received so far. But if any of you guys out there are in the giving mood and want to help support our foundation, we would, no donation is too small, no donation is too big. And this coming Saturday, we're going to go and wrap our arms around these families and love on them and bless them and, give them all the things that we've acquired for them so that they can have a Merry Christmas. Like most of us that are fortunate to have family and the resources to do so. To whom much is given, much is required.
Amen.
Beautiful. All right, we'll be back with you guys on the Verizon post-game show right here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. For Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, I'm Mark Farzetta. We'll see you guys in post.
Come on, birds.